Hello everyone, this is Diana Kim, Criminal Justice Librarian, and in this video I'm going to show you how to search for Supreme Court cases in Westlaw. We're going to begin our search by typing library.shsu.edu into your browser, which will take you to the Newton Gresham Library homepage. From there, just scroll down and click on Articles and More. From there you will see all of our databases by subject. Scroll down and you'll see Criminal Justice and Law. I'm going to click on Law for this case. And then this will take you to my legal research guide. On the left hand side you'll see my contact information, so if you need to reach me for a question, I've got my telephone number there as well as my email address. And there's also an appointment scheduler, so if you'd like to meet with me in person or maybe Zoom with me, you can schedule an appointment with me from there. This research guide contains a lot of information about legal research search sources. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what types of legal resources there are, this research guide contains a lot of information that will be helpful for you. For today's purposes, however, we're going to go over here to the right-hand side and click on Westlaw Next, and that will take us to our Westlaw database. You'll see the interface looks like this. I have the ability to search for a lot of different types of legal resources here. In this particular case, we are looking for cases specifically as opposed to statutes or any other types of legal materials. So all I have to do is click on cases here and it takes me to all the different types of cases I can search. If you are looking for, and in this particular case, we're looking for U.S. Supreme Court cases. So all I have to do is click on U.S. Supreme Court, and that's going to take me to our U.S. Supreme Court database. You'll see what we have here is a list of the 10 most recent Supreme Court decisions. So if you're interested in what's going on recently in the Supreme Court, that's one way to get to it. And right now we are looking exclusively in our search bar at U.S. Supreme Court materials. We can search for cases a couple of different ways. You'll remember from the two videos that are in Blackboard for you, I referenced a case called Graham versus Connor throughout that dealt with police use of force. So there's a couple of ways we can search for cases. If I know the exact name of a case, I can type it over here or in the search bar, put it in quotation marks. It just works better for some reason. So if you know the exact case name, that's one way to do it. And so you'll see Graham versus Connor will pull up here immediately. You can do that with pretty much any case name. I'll put in Roe v. Wade because I want to show you a little bit about some of the flags that you're seeing on the side. We all know that Roe v. Wade was recently overturned in June. That's why you're seeing this red flag. That's telling you that for this particular case, it's no longer good law. If you see a case that has that red flag, be very selective about utilizing those unless you're talking historically about a case or, you know, like the history of it or something like that. That is telling you that that case was overturned. So that's what those little flags mean. The yellow just means there's been some treatment to the particular case, maybe some negative history, but the law itself is still valid. And then you can see here's a couple of other red flags that show that those cases have been overturned. So searching by case name is one way to find cases. Another way is to actually type in the citation of the case. So you'll remember when we were talking about the Graham versus Connor case, the citation was 109 SCT 1865. I can type that directly in the search bar and it's going to take me right to Graham versus Connor as well. But let's say I don't know the citation number of the case or I don't know the case name. I want to search by search terms. That's easy to do as well. All we have to do, I'm going to go back to Supreme Court here and make sure that we're searching in Supreme Court. Okay, go to this advanced search function here on the right hand side and you'll see what it pulls up is a search builder. What we have the ability to do is find documents that have all of a certain set of terms, any of certain terms, an exact phrase, or not terms. So I'll start with the not. Let's say you're looking for cases that deal with a particular criminal law issue, but you don't want any cases that dealt with, like, for example, the death penalty. You can put death penalty here, for example, and that will exclude any cases that dealt with that particular issue. So it's sort of an excluder function, if you will. So it's probably not used as frequently as the other three bars, but I just wanted to explain what that does just for your own information. So if I were looking for cases like the Graham versus Connor case that dealt with police use of force and liability for police action when there's in the application of force, I can use these three bars here to search for cases that deal with those particular areas of law. How I'm going to do that is this. First, I'm going to put use of force here because this is an exact phrase. I want use of force dealt with as a unit, and you can see what happens. It has put my use of force up in my search bar in quotation marks. Here I'm going to place the terms police and law enforcement. I'm going to put law enforcement in quotation marks. The reason why I'm doing that is anytime you want a phrase that is in that particular order that you've typed it, you can, I advise you to put it in quotation marks. Now, the reason why I've put it in any of these terms as opposed to this exact phrase is because you'll notice police and law enforcement, they're very much a synonymous group of words. I want to make sure that when this search is done, it's looking for cases that refer to police officers and cases where maybe police are referred to as law enforcement. What it's doing in this search is it's saying that the search can include the word police, or we can also use law enforcement. Either one of them will work. And so that's what functionally it's doing up here at the top. It's saying look for cases that deal with police or law enforcement, but also the phrase use of force. And then remember I was telling you just a little bit ago, that particular case dealt with the word liability for police use of force. So I'm going to put liability up here. So I'm saying, and I may have more than one term here. In this particular case, I only have the one, but I could have, as many as I want going across here. Liability, whatever legal term. I can put a number of them here, but in this particular case, I'm just going to use the one. So this search is going to look for liability, police or law enforcement, and use of force. And it's built that search up for us right here on this top bar. Now all I have to do is hit this little search orange box, and it's going to search for cases that, Supreme Court cases that deal with police or law enforcement and liability and use of force cases. So I'm going to scroll down here and you can see there's Graham versus Connor. Now there's some other cases here that also deal with police use of force or law enforcement use of force. There is a County of Los Angeles versus Mendez, Tennessee versus Gardner, City of Oklahoma versus Tuttle, the Graham versus Connor case. There's a number of them here, but all of these are going to deal with the topical areas that we typed into that search function. And so all of these cases are going to deal with this particular issue. One of the things I do want to point out though from this case or on this screen is we have some other things that are available to you that you might be interested in, particularly on the right hand side of the screen. Over here under related documents, they give you what's called secondary sources, and secondary sources are essentially sources that are written about cases. So the reason why they're called secondary is the cases themselves are primary sources. They're the actual law. Secondary sources are sources that are written about the cases or about the statutes. So this area can be very helpful if you're looking for an article, like a legal article about the topic that you're searching. You can come over here to secondary sources and find, law journal articles or things of that nature that deal with the same topics that you're looking for in your search. So like here, for example, here's a police use of force statutes, etc. So there can be some things over here that are interesting to you that might be applicable to whatever it is that you're writing about. So I just want to point that out as, kind of keep your eye open and see what's sort of going on over there, because there can be helpful links to things there for you as well. So yeah, this is how we get to this. Now I can click on Graham versus Connor and it takes me to the case. There's our head notes. You'll remember in the video that talked about the components of a Supreme Court case, I was talking about the West head notes, and I was telling you that they're linked to the opinions themselves. And you'll see here that this case has 5 particular head notes. So there were 5 areas of law that were dealt with in this case. Here is that 11,926 cases that cite this head note. If I click on that, that will take me to whole bunch more cases that deal with this particular issue. The thing about it is when I do that, I'm looking at more than just Supreme Court cases. It's dealing with all kinds of cases from all different jurisdictions that deal with that particular issue. So that might not be interesting to you in this particular for this particular assignment, since you're dealing only with Supreme Court cases, but that functionally that's how that works. If I back up here though and click on the number 1 itself, it's going to take me right down to the opinion where that particular issue of law was dealt with within this case. So that's kind of handy to have. Once you take a look at the different areas of law, if there's one particular one that you are focusing on when you're writing your papers, that will kind of narrow the focus to exactly where in the opinion that particular law was applied. And you can see it takes me right there, and I can look at the opinion of the court as it deals with that particular issue. That's essentially it. Searching for cases can be a little tricky in Westlaw until you get the hang of it, however. So definitely feel comfortable reaching out to me for questions, because I can help you with coming up with the keywords that you need to find the types of things that you're looking for. Sometimes that can be a little tricky when you're first starting out doing it. But I'm definitely here to help you go through that process and sort of do some brainstorming and things like that if you're having difficulty finding what you're looking for. So again, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on that legal research guide. Again, articles and more from the main screen. Scroll down to law, and then my contact information is on the left-hand side. I hope you found this information helpful. Please reach out to me with questions, and good luck on your assignment. Thank you.